The first 100K is the hardest saying. Hi, I always hear that the first 100K is the hardest. When this is said, is that talking about just 100K in general over multiple accounts and investments? Or is this talking about getting 100K in a single investment or account? The $100,000 is made by grinding, while the second $100,000 is made by grinding and compound growth. The third is even easier, as you have $200,000 compounding to work towards your next $100,000. On top of that, as you get older, people generally get raises, which allows for a much higher savings rate as long as they don't allow lifestyle creep to affect it too much. With that said, once you make it to $1 million, you will be averaging at least $100,000 increase in net worth per year. Obviously. Simple math. First 100K hardest. First 1 million hardest. First 10 million hardest. It only takes 25% growth. Go from 400K to 500K can be done in a year. But first 100K? Not so easy. Everyone likes to talk about it being hard because interest/gains/whatever. In my opinion, the first 100K is the hardest because you are shifting your entire outlook on money from spend to save. By the time you get to your 100K, you have gotten on the habit of saving hundreds a month, usually. You built up some good habits, learned to think before you spend, and came to appreciate what it takes to get there. For me, seeing the gains on top of that was gravy. It doesn't matter what accounts the money is in. The first anything is the hardest. It doesn't matter if it is 50K, 100K, or 200 million. Due to compounding interest, it will be easier to obtain the next unit of anything. It's irrelevant how you distribute your net worth. The only relevant thing is that it is able to compound, so it is not just sitting on the bank without any returns. There's an old German saying, the first million is the hardest million, essentially meaning the same thing. In German it rhymes so as a nice flow. But I think it's worth pointing out, while the mental motivation to keep going after seeing the progress plays a role, the compounding is what makes it so true. All this investment income is now on top of your regular income, which you have already managed to live below to get to the first milestone. I'm an English teacher, but I try and sneak in a bit of compounding interest and some stock market lessons during my English lessons. Not strictly what I'm being paid to teach, but I've not heard any complaints yet. I really think the students need to learn this. The first anything with an additional zero is the hardest. $100,000 is when you really start to appreciate compound growth because of that extra zero. A 1% day for a $10,000 portfolio is $100. A 1% day for $100,000 portfolio is $1,000. I usually use the example comparing going from 0 to 100K versus 900K to 1 mil. That 10th 100K will come a whole lot faster than the first due to the compound interest helping out. And it's harder because it is when all the little cumulative cuts in your lifestyle have the biggest impact. When people talk about not buying Starbucks all the time, or not eating out, not buying upgraded plane tickets, getting the cheaper vehicle, thrifting your clothes, it is really most relevant when you are first starting. The only thing that gets those compounding dollars started is your own contributions, and every little extra as early as possible helps. After the ball is rolling, your personal sacrifices don't have as much marginal impact, and you can reasonably ease up at that point. It's about building up enough principal so your money works for you. Let's pretend it takes you 7 years to save $100,000. The stock market doubles in value every 7 years. So years 0 to 7, it's just you working away, investing diligently $100,000. The years 8 to 14, you're still working away, investing $100,000, and your already invested money is doubling in value, such that at the end of these 7 years you have $300,000. Years 15 to 21, you're still working away, investing $100,000, and your already invested money is doubling in value, so at the end of these 7 years you have $700,000. Either or both. The first $100,000 is the hardest because you mostly have to save your way there. As you get higher, compound interest starts to take over. Consider this year, the S&P is up 11.5% YTD. If you started the year with $1,000 in an S&P fund, you now have $1,115. Nice, but not much closer to $100,000. To be up $100,000, you still need to save $99K. If you started the year with $1 million, you now have $1,115,000. Congrats, you're up more than $100,000 just by being in the market for a few months. No additional savings. It snowballs as you go higher. As someone who recently hit that 100K mark in my 401k and IRA, here's a great example. In the last month, it started at 105K, and as of today, it's up to 114K. I've only contributed roughly $1,000 in that time. Over multiple accounts, or total invested. It's easier to see it if it's all in one account though. Regardless, the point was, it's really hard to get started and see a good-sized number that's meaningful. Once you get to a meaningful number, you see real progress and it's easier to keep going. When you first start, you might only be saving a few hundred a month, but eventually you hopefully get to saving tens of thousands or more every year, and you really start to see compounding work out well for you over time. The first everything is the hardest. As you make more money, as long as you are wise with your spending and investments, everything becomes easier and easier because your income is supposed to increase all the time. Me, for example, I made 11.5K in March, opened business, 11.5K in April, but my expenses barely increased. I did go out to eat a little more, but barely increased overall monthly expenses. May is on track to at least make that as well. By June, I expect to make between 15K, 20K because of all that money I made the previous months I'm putting back to the business. The first 100K is taking me a lot of work, 7 days a week, 12 to 14-hour days. But eventually I'll be able to hire people and I'll be able to work less, but still make the same if not more. Then money can be put into diversifying income, so now 100K is no big deal, but now the million will be challenging to get in a not so distant future. Keep killing the game though, love people wanting to work hard and achieve their goals and dreams. Banks make money on debt. Banks control the government. Government controls the education system. See a trend here? Government also happens to love the poor. They are dependent/reliant on the government. Therefore the poor are easier to control. Now I'm not putting on a tinfoil hat and crawling into a bunker screaming how we don't need the government. Thanks for watching and being on the road to Reddit Millionaire with us. So, do you agree with the saying, or do you have another view on the topic? Let us know. Until next one.